Hey all, I hope you are settling into a good routine with your Odyssey assignments. This is going to be a review of assignment 1. I'm just going to walk you through the answers and make sure everybody is on the same page. Here we go. Excuse me. Okay, so assignment 1 started in book 1 and asked you a few questions about a few sections of book 1. So the first question, what were the muses and why did Homer call upon the muse in book 1, line 2? So book 1, line 2 reads this: tell me about a complicated man. Muse, tell me how he wandered and was lost when he had wrecked the holy town of Troy, and where he went and who he met, the pain he suffered on the sea, and how he worked to save his life and bring his men back home. So I gave you a link in this original assignment to a website that would explain what muses are. So the muse in the Odyssey is a deity or a goddess whom Homer, the author, made an appeal to as he began writing the epic poem. In Greek mythology, there were Greek goddesses who are in charge of giving an author inspiration, skill, knowledge, and even the right emotion at the beginning of their work. So he's basically asking the muse for inspiration, and then he's going to go on and tell his story. Number 2, what does Homer tell you about our hero and about what is going to happen to him? So we do get a bit of a summary in the very beginning of the book. It's like all the spoilers. You know what's going to happen. This is like very clear foreshadowing because it says exactly what Odysseus is going to experience in the rest of the story. He tells us that he suffered at sea. He tried to save his men, but they died. How his men ate the sun god's cattle, and the god kept them from home. Calypso has him trapped in her cave. Him as Odysseus. Calypso wants to be his wife. And that when Odysseus is ready to go home, Poseidon is going to keep him from going home. Poseidon's going to keep that from happening. Okay, so then you headed over to book 5. Book 5 is From the Goddess to the Storm. All right, so first question. Asked you to zoom in on page 182, lines 58 through 80. What do you see, hear, feel, and smell in this famous description of Calypso's home? So here's that description. It says, there sat Calypso with her braided curls. Beside the hearth, a mighty fire was burning. The scent of citrus and of brittle pine suffused the island. Inside, and this is inside the cavern, which is on this island, inside she was singing and weaving with a shuttle made of gold. The shuttle is what you weave with, not the space shuttle. Her voice was beautiful. Around the cave, a luscious forest flourished. Beautiful alliteration there. Alder, poplar, and scented cypress. It was full of wings. Birds nested there, but hunted out at sea. The owls, the hawks, the gulls with gaping beaks. A ripe and verdant vine hung thick with grapes, was stretched to coil around her cave. 4 springs spurted with sparkling water as they laced with crisscross currents intertwined together. More alliteration, it's very poetic. The meadow softly bloomed with celery and violets. He gazed around in wonder and joy at sights to please even a god. This is Hermes, who has just arrived to try to convince Calypso to free Odysseus. Okay, so this is just rife with imagery. It's beautiful. It's over the top. It's like heaven, right? There's beautiful trees. It smells perfect. It is a place that even a god would be impressed with. All right, so a lot of imagery to make it seem like, why would Odysseus ever want to leave? Okay. Number 4, Zeus ordered Calypso to let Odysseus go, but she claims the idea as her own. Why do you think she does that? What is your opinion of her deception? So everybody's going to have a different answer here. Calypso does not want to let Odysseus leave. So perhaps she says this, like, I'm going to release you, so that he feels like she's being kind, and then maybe he doesn't want to leave. Maybe it's a way to trick him into staying and being her immortal husband. Maybe it's just to manipulate her, maybe it's just to manipulate Odysseus. Or maybe she just wants to claim the idea. She's a bit conniving. Number 5, according to Calypso, what would Odysseus gain by staying with her? What does his response tell you about his feelings for his wife? So Calypso literally says, well then, goodbye, but if you understood how glutted you will be with suffering before you reach your home, you would stay here with me and be immortal, though you might still wish to see that wife you always pine for. So basically, she's like, first of all, if you knew how bad your journey home was going to be, you wouldn't leave. All right. So we've got some foreshadowing there of this horrible journey that Odysseus is going to have to endure in order to get home. But secondly, and probably like more of a bribe, is he can marry her and be immortal. All right. So this shows that he must really be loyal and truly love his wife. And it shows that he's willing to give up immortality. So he must not desire it that much. Okay. He's willing to give up a lot in order to return home. Number 6, what is Poseidon's reaction to seeing Odysseus sailing on his raft? What does Poseidon proceed to do? Poseidon is the god of the sea. He says, this is outrageous. And he can't believe the gods have gone behind his back and allowed Odysseus to leave the island. And he says, I will goad him to more misery till he is sick of it. So here we see Poseidon saying, I'm not going to let him just travel home. I am going to make him go through all of this other stuff till he like just gives up and decides to just die and not go home. And then he rolls in fog and he brings in a storm to wreck Odysseus's little raft. And then Odysseus is like drowning. He's floating in water. And number 7, who appears to save Odysseus from drowning? And what does she instruct Odysseus to do? And what does she give him? So Ino, the white goddess, shows up and she says, poor man, why does enraged Poseidon create an Oddysey of pain for you? I love the use of that word there. But his hostility will not destroy you. You seem intelligent, do as I say. She then tells him to take off all of his clothes so that he doesn't sink. Abandon your raft and start swimming to Phaeacia, the island in the distance. Then she says, here's my scarf, tie it around you, and it'll keep you from drowning. It's really sweet. She makes sure he doesn't die. And then she flitters away. Odysseus is like, you're probably trying to trick me. Like, I'm not going to do what you say. But then he's literally dying and he's like, sweet, I'll do exactly what you say. And he does. And he swims into shore. Number 8, who inevitably helps Odysseus reach the shore. And what does he do when he arrives on the shore of the island of Phaeacia? Athena helps. She gives him some divine inspiration. She helps him find a way into this cove and come up with the idea to hang on to rocks while the ocean is going over him. But he clings on as tight as an octopus, it says. And then he's able to get to the shore and he walks into the woods, covers himself up with leaves to hide himself, and he falls asleep. Okay? So now he is on the island of Phaeacia, and that is where your second assignment is going to pick up. Let me walk you through this, find it really quick. On page 182, so these are the ones that were pretty obvious and that stood out to me. So hopefully you were able to find them too. You may have found others that I didn't find. I'll check those. So this is Odysseus. It says, this is Hermes talking. It says, he touched Pieria, then from the sky, he plunged into the sea and swooped between the waves, just like a seagull, catching fish, wetting its whirring wings in tireless brine. So Hermes is being compared to a seagull here. There's also some great alliteration, wetting its whirring wings. Example of Xenia. This is when Hermes arrives at Calypso's and she welcomes him in. She leads him to a table heaped with ambrosia. She mixes him a drink. She is offering him hospitality since that was the custom. Page 187, foreshadowing. This is when Calypso says to Odysseus, if you understood how glutted you will be with suffering before you reach your home, you would stay here with me and be immortal. She is foreshadowing for him and alluding to all the misery that the gods are going to make Odysseus endure before he makes it back to Ithaca. Page 187, personification. When vernal dawn first touched the sky with flowers, you will see dawn, like the morning, the sun rising, it's almost always personification, okay? This is a holdover from the original Greek. This is the way it was written. There was always this personified language of dawn, like touching the sky so it becomes beautiful, or bringing up the sun. So pay attention to that. You'll see some like repetition of that personification or other literary devices in association with dawn. Page 188 into 189, some imagery. There is imagery all over this section, but in this case specifically, it says, she washed and dressed him in clothes that smelled of incense, and then she sent him off with gentle, lukewarm breezes. It's like this kind little, here you go, like I'm letting you go. And then Poseidon sees him, and that's when all the chaos begins. So it's a little bit of a juxtaposition of how Calypso sets him off into this gentle, lukewarm breeze, and he's sailing off and everything feels fine. And then Poseidon's like, this is outrageous. Okay, page 189, a simile. Hopefully you found this one. Excuse me, 191 is the simile. Like a gull with wings outstretched, she rose up from the sea. This is describing Ino, the goddess who rescues Odysseus. On page 193, there was a simile, as when a father lies sick and weak for many days. Oops, typos here. For many days, tormented by some cruel spirit, till at last the gods restore him back to life. His children feel great joy. Odysseus felt that same great joy as he saw land. This is when he sees Phaeacia and knows that he's not going to die. And then on the very last page of book 5, here we go. As when a man who lives on a lonely farm that has no neighbors buries a glowing torch inside black embers to save the seed of fire and keep a source, so was Odysseus concealed in the leaves. So we're going to do a whole lesson on these types of similes. These are called epic similes. So I'll explain more about that later on. But these are similes that like kind of go on and on. They're these long descriptions. Homer was really into those, and we'll talk about those more later on in the unit. Okay, so that is assignment 1. Please let me know if you have any questions, and stay tuned for a review of assignment 2.